Hello listeners, Jordan here. I just want to let you know that you can listen to Nighttime early and ad-free on Amazon Music. Include it with Prime.
You are listening to the Nighttime Podcast.
Hello listeners. I love a good story of innocent chaos. And oh boy do I have one for you tonight. To those of you aging gracefully alongside me, the 1990s may not seem to us like it was all that long ago, but it was a different time, and in a big way, it was a different world. Before the internet streamlined the way we did everything, and social media influenced every aspect of social lives, kids seemed to have had a bit more imagination when it came to the passage of time. My friends and I spent countless hours holding down fort at the local mall. We explored every inch of the woods near my house, and, well, we did a whole bunch of things that I wouldn't care to confess to at this point in my life. Now, another big difference between that time and today, it seems like we children of the 80s and 90s were given a bit longer of a leash than these modern kids are afforded. But as anyone who lived a life knows, traveling to the ends of that leash can bring both an opportunity for adventure and one for absolute failure. In tonight's episode, we're going to be joined by a fellow kid of the 80s and 90s, Ryan Sommers. The nonchalance of the 90s afforded Ryan a rather remarkable story to tell. When he was a high school student, he was involved with an economics project that involved groups of students starting businesses. For reasons I still can't understand, Ryan's group decided on running a sort of gambling scenario that involved bringing a cow to the high school sports field and betting on where it would poop. Now, as you're soon going to hear, the cow didn't poop on the field. In fact, the cow's time on that field was very limited, but I dare say that every student in that school is going to remember that cow for the rest of their lives.
Certainly nice. Well, we got just a hilarious, bizarre story for you. It's the story of beef gone bad, a cow on the lamb.
That's right. 10 RCMP officers, a pair of animal control officers, dozens of high school students, and assorted friends and neighbors have spent this Friday afternoon tracking a cow through residential neighborhoods in Bedford and Sackville. An ATV camera crew was with them all the way, and ATV's Jonathan Kay joins us now with an utterly ridiculous story. Jonathan.
It's the kind of thing that can only happen here on a Friday afternoon, Nancy. ATV News photographer Kevin McDonald and I were working on a completely different story when our assignment editor called us and told us we were getting calls here in the newsroom of a cow obstructing traffic in a residential neighborhood. Here's what happened. When the cow escaped, it was in the custody of this Bedford High School student.
Okay. I was holding on to the cow when it came out, and it got nervous. And when it got nervous, because all the people, it shook and its harness broke, and he took off towards the woods.
You might wonder what high school students were doing with a cow on the school grounds in the first place. Well, they were getting ready for an event called Cow Patty Bingo. Squares are marked on the school field, and if the cow does his business on your square, you win. Things went wrong.
Okay, we just tranquilized the cow now.
Can I go?
He's been tranquilized. Let it rest, let it drop, and then we'll get it once it's down. There's no sense in chasing it the rest of the day.
That particular member of the RCMP hasn't received his wish yet, though, Nancy and Paul. Right now, that cow is still out here somewhere.
Oh, no.
We'll let you know how it turns out after he's captured.
All right.
Wow.
Thanks a lot, Jonathan.
So now that you got a bit of an idea of the craziness that went on during this incident, let's get to our guest. Ryan is one of the then short-sighted students who dreamt up this idea. And now, 30 years later, he is here to tell us the story of the 1994 C.P. Allen High School cow incident. Ryan, I guess we'll start at the end and then backtrack. So let's start present day. Who are you? Where are you? What are you doing with your life?
So I'm Ryan Sommers. I currently live in Toronto, Nova Scotia. And the other things I do with my time, I'm a dad of 4 kids, and I'm also a physician here in Toronto.
Really?
Yeah.
Okay, what an odd start for a physician, as we'll hear as we go. Because the important work you do at a hospital or at a practice as a physician has its humble beginnings in a field outside of a high school in Bedford. So before we get into the story of what happened back in '94 at C.P. Allen High, do people like is this story something that like friends and family all know? Like, is this something you kind of wear still?
Yeah, well, definitely my friends and the my classmates in my year and the year behind me and ahead of us, like they all knew about this, and I tend to use it as an icebreaker sometimes. I use it like in work situations when you meet new people and they were like, people ask like, tell us about yourself and tell us a neat story. And I would say, well, in high school I was involved with a project and we lost a cow. So um yeah, it was pretty yeah, and people find it interesting
Yeah.
and some people might remember it, but
Yeah, but that's
yeah.
understating it. We lost a cow. I don't know if the interesting part is losing the cow or the reason you had a cow at the high school or the fact that like it seemed like, police, students and animal control people chased the cow throughout the city.
Yeah.
The losing the cow is just such a small part of it. I think when
Yeah,
people say,
yeah.
tell me about yourself, you need to say, you're going to have to sit down for this.
I got a story for you. Yeah.
Yeah. Well, let's go back to it. I'm originally from Cape Breton. I don't know CP Allen High School, and I certainly don't know CP Allen High School circa 1994 when this goes down. So tell me a bit about
Yeah.
your high school experience. What was life like then? What was the school like?
Yeah, it was we were the only high school in Bedford, a pretty big school, about 1,300 kids maybe.
Okay.
And this is the original, like CPA was originally on Rocky Lake Drive, so it's at that school now. And there's a newer CPA which is on the other side of Bedford, but yeah, it was a typical high school, and this whole initiative was around a grade 11 economics project where we had to start a business, and
Okay.
so we had this event. Yeah, that was our business.
And this happened again. This is 94. So, of course,
Yeah,
the internet existed, but for the most part, this is pre-internet, which is
yeah,
probably why when someone searches your name, the first thing that doesn't come up is something about escaped cows running through a cow running through Bedford. But
yeah,
I want to hear about the origins of this story and this economics thing. But I
yeah.
should just preface it by saying there's another kind of famous story out of Halifax. There's a clothing company called East Coast Lifestyle, and I think
Hmm.
that started with like I don't know if it was a high school or a
Yeah, the
university
project. Yeah,
project, like an economics project where they started a t-shirt business. It became such a success that's like one of the bigger clothing companies, I guess, on the east
yeah,
coast of Canada.
yeah.
It seems like that didn't quite work out the same way
No,
for you.
no, we were like our project actually never achieved its goal, but the goal was to actually we would raise money. And actually our teacher said to us like, if you get any media, you're gonna get 100% on the project. I'm like, okay, this would be cool. And so it was the not the type of media we were expecting. So
No, not it should have been for a drama class, not an economics class.
yeah,
But
yeah,
what was the plan? If it had gone according to plan,
yeah.
how are you going to make money?
So the project was called Cow Plots, and the goal was to take our soccer field, divide up into sections, and then we sold off sections to people. We did this for a couple of weeks before the actual event, so we did it at lunchtime and the morning and mid breaks, and any sort of parent teacher interview. We're selling it, so I think it was like $2 or $3 for each little plot. And so the goal was to like we were aiming to make a profit, but the goal was to actually give it to charity. I think we were going to give it to the IWK. And so we were pretty smart. We went and got some funding. We actually went to Farmers Milk,
Oh,
and we asked like we said we got this school project. We like to like just use some money to for promotions, and we made some posters and we made t-shirts, and we wanted just to get it off the ground. Like, yeah, sure. They gave us $500, and yeah, so it was great. We actually went out to the Farmers Milk production company out in Hammond's Plains and met with them, and they were totally supportive. And we never really followed up with them afterwards because I don't think it resulted in any any
yeah,
attention. But
they're like, take our name off that poster.
yeah, yeah, yeah. In those days, we all had posters. Like we had this poster campaign. Like, we had like a slogan, "Are you ready? It's coming this day." And then there's some mystery behind it. And so yeah, so we knew a friend of ours. I think it was her dad or granddad, had a small farm outside of Bedford and had a cow, and we thought, okay, well, she's like, yeah, I'll bring the cow out and just walk around the field, and it'll do its duty. It'll take a dump, and then we'll mop out that spot and do. We thought this is pretty straightforward.
Just
And
to be
so,
clear, so you have a plot drawn on the soccer, and this is your plan. You have the plot drawn
yeah,
on the soccer field, like a bunch of random squares, let's say,
yeah,
and you're selling tickets where people will, for $2 or $3 or whatever it is, they would claim their square.
yeah,
Your plan is to bring a cow there to the
yeah.
field, and wherever the cow first does its business, that will be the
They
winning
win.
plot, and they would win, the money or half the
Yeah,
money or whatever the
yeah.
case may be. And the posters, were they to advertise it to like sell more tickets?
Yeah, yeah. So we had like a school. I think we put it in our school newspaper, and again, like there's no texting or tweeting. Like we're actually drawing these by hand and taping them to all the doors. So, but it was just to get excitement for it.
Okay.
And
And
but
did
yeah,
it
that was
work? Because I'm just thinking in
oh
my high
yeah,
school, I would have thought this was the craziest idea and I would have been all for it.
yeah, yeah. No, we had a lot of attention. Like people were they were buying plots. Like we had a good like almost the entire field was sold off. I think there's some sections that weren't, and so we were like concerned. Like we gotta make sure it actually does the duty somewhere somewhere close to someone's bought some land. Um, yeah, so we marketed it. We got the excitement going. We had back then, I think still now, you have your usual announcements over the PA, and we told everyone the cow's coming at lunchtime, and uh the day came, and it was like the typical spring day where it's like that first warm day and like all the snow's gone. It's a bit muddy everywhere, so and everyone was outside because it was a nice day, and so the cow came in, and the trailer got backed up, and then kids started congregating around the field. There's probably like several hundred kids at that point, and
Mhm.
at that point everything went like completely off plan. So
Okay, so
um
before we get to that,
yeah,
you mentioned the cow was you had like a friend or whatever who had like a hobby farm. Is that like
yeah, I think it's just like they had a piece of land, they had a couple like cows and maybe some sheep
okay?
on it, and I thought like it'd be like a typical black and white like milk cow. I was like, oh, that'd be cool, but it was like this huge bull with horns, and so
Oh yeah,
it's like
I've seen the news clips. It doesn't like
yeah,
when I was watching it, like all I know about this story until our talk now is what I saw in that 2 minute ish news clip from back in the
yeah,
90s when this happened. I assumed it would have been like a petting zoo brought a cow or
no,
something, but no, this is just
no.
basically a farmer showed up with like a
A
bull.
cow. Yeah, it was a bull, and I was like, it was like, yeah, that thing looks like it can hurt people. So,
Okay, so
and yeah,
you hinted there too. The cow showed up. It's a nice day. Everybody's
yeah,
outside, and this is where things start going wrong.
yeah.
I understand they drive the cows like in a tractor or a trailer that they bring onto the field.
It's just like I think like a typical like horse trailer. So there's a part where the farmer just backed up his truck, and so everyone started congregating to see the cow, and he went in and started bringing the cow out, and one of my classmates, she was trying to help him guide the cow out, and the cow just sort of popped his head out, looked around, and just ran, and
Yeah.
just like, this is not what I want to do, and just took off.
I think you call
Uh,
it like noping out of there. The cow is just
yeah,
like, nope.
yeah, it's like, nope, no, I'm not getting involved with this. I'm leaving. And so the cow like got a pretty good trot going, and like didn't go like towards the road. It like went to the very back part of the field, and there was no like other fence around the backside there, so it was just all woods. And where the old CPA used to be, like you could go through like a half a kilometer of woods and eventually hit a highway.
Hmm.
So that happened, and a bunch of my classmates were in the group, like we should maybe follow the cow, at least track it. And then everyone else started tracking it too. Like all these people just like for the heck of it were running along. And I'm sure
Absolutely.
if they had like cell phones back then, they'd be like, totally live streaming it. But everyone just there's a bunch of us, maybe a dozen or so, just going through the woods, and then I'm there. And then at one point, like there's no one there, it's just me.
Did you
So,
have any plan of what you would do if you
no,
caught? Like,
like,
I couldn't just imagine the crowd mentality or mob mentality. Just like
yeah,
everyone's running after the cow. Let's go. The cow's probably
yeah,
terrified.
yeah.
Um,
And I was just hoping to find where the cow would stop, and I would just stay there and yell for people, the cow is here. And then, but they just kept going and going and going. And so in behind the high school is the highway that connects Magazine Hill
mhm.
over to Sackville. And so and that highway was built up a bit. And so at one point I'm just watching the cow, and the cow is like climbing up this embankment and got on the highway.
Oh my gosh.
So got on the highway, and then if you take that Magazine Hill, you can actually turn off to there's like a Cobequid exit, and so there used to be an old healthcare center called the Cobequid Healthcare Center there, and it just went that way and just kept running, and then cars were stopping, and I was like, I just kept following the cow, like I wasn't like getting close to it, just tracking it, but at that point the cow was like on a double lane highway going in the middle, and it took the exit to Sackville, Nova Scotia. So Sackville's right next door to Bedford, and it's like our rival town. So it went that way and then hid in the woods for a bit, and then that's when the cops picked me up. And you'll remember there's in the picture there's an RCMP officer with a mustache.
Yeah.
So he picked me up, and then I met another of my classmates who was doing a job shadowing with him that day. He was a year behind me, and I said, "Hey, you're so and so's brother, aren't you?" He's like, "Yeah, yeah." And what are you doing? He's like, "Well, just job shadowing." I was like, "What are you doing?" Like, I'm trying to chase down this cow. So,
Oh my God. One thing I need to know is when I learned this story, I was thinking like, what were the teachers like? I assumed it was organized by teachers. I don't know why, but
no.
I'm just surprised a teacher hadn't put the kibosh on this early on. Do
Yeah.
you remember like any resistance from the teacher of like bringing this random cow from a farmer to the school?
No, like I don't think there was much thought about like liability and like insurance.
It was a different
back
time, I
then.
think.
It's like we just did it. Like we just we told our teacher. He said like we're gonna do this project. He's like, yeah, that's a good idea. You should do it. And like there was like no like get permission from the principal. Like I think the principal was pretty upset with us afterwards.
I
Like,
bet.
how come I didn't know about this? So, but back in the 90s, you just did stuff. There was no one cared about being sued, right?
Yeah,
So,
it's so true, and that's why it was
yeah.
such a great time. But when the cow escapes, I'm sure immediately it's hitting people, and like for all of you students, it was probably fun to chase the cow. But there must
yeah.
have been some people on that field that are like, "Oh shit! Like, what
Yeah.
did we do?" Do you remember any of that? Like the mood shifting to concern?
Oh, that was my classmates for sure. They were like, "This is terrible. We're gonna go to jail. This is like we're gonna get in so much trouble. Like this is gonna be the worst thing ever." But it wasn't like I think kids were just like the mob mentality took over, and they were just having a blast and hooting and hollering and just laughing.
Yeah.
And but like no like the only time people got hurt is they fell down trying to chase the cow.
Yeah.
Like, the cow never touched anyone.
Do you know how the police became involved? I'm assuming it wasn't one of the students that called the police. Do you know how that
I
started?
think it was the point when the cow got on the highway. I think that's when the police got involved. So,
Yeah, that was one of my thoughts when I was watching the clip. It's the video news clip is like if a car had hit that thing, like a cow,
Yeah.
like hitting a deer or a moose is bad, but a cow is like a couple brick walls. These
Yeah.
things are huge.
Yeah,
There's-
it's like a moose, like all the moose car accidents you see like in northern New Brunswick and Newfoundland. Like it could have really probably like, injured someone for sure. Yeah.
Yeah, and in the news clip, we see the police get involved with all the students in the search for the cow. It seems like eventually the cow is not tased, like hit with a tranquilizer. I wish it was tased. No, it was hit with a tranquilizer gun. Were you around like for this part of the search when they actually
Oh yeah,
shot
yeah.
it?
So that point when the police picked me up, he then took me back to the high school, and I met my fellow classmates who were part of the project. And so we got some search parties organized. So in the clip, there's a really tall guy named Trevor Allen. He was our student council vice president. And so he got involved. I think he just wanted like not to go to school in the afternoon. So a bunch of people like I got a car, let's go. And so we went over to the exit where we thought it was at. And then like at that point, like the RCMP are trying to get a hold of things. They called animal control in. And then and actually at that point for the next 4 hours, the cow was going in and out of just the subdivisions of Lower Sackville. So there's First Lake Drive. It was going up and down that. It was going through people's backyards, and it almost made its way to I think close to Beaverbank Road.
Wow.
So it like went right through Sackville, and like I mentioned, it was spring and it was really muddy, and so the cow was like just sinking in people's backyards by like a foot down in, and it was really slow down. And then it would get cornered, and then animal control came out. They were shooting tranquilizers at it, and then they didn't have like tranquilizers that were enough to take the cow down. So they're like they said they were for like cats and dogs, and so the cow would just take a shot in the neck and just throw it off and keep going. So
Oh God. So how long did this chase go on for?
it started, yeah, it started at lunchtime, and then it wasn't until like 6 or 7 o'clock in the evening until the cow just stopped. And
Oh my God.
yeah, and so it's like stopped somewhere like in it was off a road somewhere next to like a park. And so at that point the farmer got over and took it, and like he was the best of all of it. Like he was so chill, and
Oh,
he was having a blast. He was
yeah, I
laughing.
saw he's in the news clip. They talked to him
Yeah.
briefly, and he doesn't seem bothered by it at all. He seems quite
No.
amused by the whole thing.
No, he was great. He was great. Yeah, he was a blast. And we felt so bad actually, putting him through this. And so we had some money left over, and we actually took him out to dinner for a steak dinner.
Oh, really? Oh, to a steak dinner, like.
Yeah, so it wasn't his cow, but we took him out for a steak dinner just to, like, to thank him for like putting up with us.
So as were you there when the cow actually got taken down, or I'm guessing there's probably
No,
supper time. So
at
you,
this point it's supper time. And my parents said to get home, and like the RCMP were trying to get us away because I think at that point we're just making things worse.
I bet, yeah.
And so a lot of us we took off then, but we eventually, one of our classmates stuck around. Eventually, I think it was like 7 o'clock in the evening, 6 o'clock. They finally got the cow contained
Safely. Sorry to pull you out of the episode like this, but I want to let you know about another piece I did relating to this story. On the Keep Canada Weird podcast, Aaron and I release short, bite-sized episodes that cover weird moments in Canadian history. Several months back, we did a Keep Canada Weird Remembers episode about the cow patty bingo chaos. In a major way, this episode you're listening to now is a bit of a sequel to that. But if you did miss that episode the first time around and you're enjoying this story, you can find a link to the Keep Canada Weird episode covering this in this episode's description. Now let's get back to the conversation. This happened now. This would never happen now. A school would never allow it. I don't even know.
No, they wouldn't allow this at all.
They hardly even do field trips now in schools, let alone allow the students to bring animals to the field.
Yeah. No, we did crazy stuff. Like we would have, like, for orientation week, we'd have like Jello wrestling, and we just take all the equipment out of the gym and we just do it. And we would just have Jello wrestling for orientation week. Or the one thing, our class is probably pretty bad. One day there was a really popular teacher. They moved his entire classroom outside and set it up the exact same way. So, but you would be totally suspended for several days.
Yeah.
That. So we got away with everything back then.
I think the reason things are so strict now is because of people like you organizing the cow patty bingo. So you said there was no trouble, no heads rolled. I'm sure your teacher got a talking to.
I'm not sure what happened to him in the end. So but he was pleased because we got media attention, and that's what he wanted. He's like, if you get media attention, automatic 100%.
So did you get 100?
Yeah, we did. Oh yeah, we did. Yeah, we had to then figure out, how do we actually award the prize money. So we ended up just doing a draw, and so we took the map, cut it up. Like the map had people's names on it, and we pulled it out of a hat, and that person won $500.
Oh my God.
Yeah.
So what after this all happens, like that must have been the most exciting day of the year. What, like,
it was, yeah.
Throughout the rest of the year, like, how did the students view this? Or I guess it's different looking back in hindsight at something that happened years ago. But when it happened, did you realize how wild this was?
Oh yeah, next day was pretty crazy. Like everyone was just talking about it everywhere. So, and then the next class with our economics teacher, he was laughing his butt off. He was like, he has a really good project. You didn't really achieve the ultimate goal, but you did get some attention. So, but I think he liked it as well. He liked to get attention himself, so it fit well with his personality.
Perfect. Well, running a business, if things are going to go wrong, so there needs to be a little bit of like PR skills that you develop.
Oh, yeah.
So I guess it worked out. You got a good mark. You learned a lot about when business goes wrong.
Yeah. Oh yeah. We did some media interviews. So like there's media training. We sort of our own on the spot media training. So I think there's some like good lifelong lessons there for sure.
Did you make it into the evening news clip that we've been talking about?
I wasn't in it myself. No, like there's a point where like I think like there's a point where they got the RCMP officer with the mustache. I was like behind the scenes.
Okay.
I think there's might be a clip of me like with like chasing the cows, but that like my classmates who were left behind at the school, the three of them were interviewed and they're wearing our white cow plots t-shirts.
Yeah,
And they were
one
just
of them,
explaining what happened.
one of them was the young woman who I believe was the one who was helping get the cow out of the tractor.
Yeah, she was the one so the farmer had this long rope on it and was pulling the cow out. And so she was very brave and she was up holding the cow and the cow was just like, I'm out of here. There's so many people here. And then she just sort of let it go and then like,
bet.
all right, I'm not, this cow's got huge horns. I'm not going to be taken out by it. So,
Wow.
Yeah.
I'm guessing there was never a cow patty bingo part 2. You guys didn't try this again the next year?
No. I think we had a new principal the year after, and she was very strict. So,
really? Well, I wonder if that's related to the what happened.
Probably, yeah. Those CPA kids are crazy. We need someone there to actually enforce the rules. So.
Yeah, that's who knows. So how often does this story get brought up? Like how often? I know over the last couple of weeks there's been some attention drummed up, but how often do you hear about the cow patty bingo chaos?
Not too much anymore. Like I mean. I remember like on social media on Facebook, like with my friends, I would post like, hey, it's been like 10 years, it's been like 20 years since then. And it does, I think my close friends, like they all lived it, they saw it. But I mean, the biggest thing is, when I meet new people and you're in a group setting, it's nice little icebreaker. So the people who first notified this about me were people I work with. They said, you remember that story you told us about, losing a cow? Like, there's a podcast on it now. So yeah. It's
30 years ago. Does it like time flies, eh? Does it feel like 30 years?
It is. No, it doesn't. But it is crazy that like I felt like I remember just being 10 years, like in being in university afterwards. But no, it's like time flies and it was such a memorable day. Like I still remember all the details pretty clearly because it was like a typical like we weren't sure like how we were gonna do the logistics of mapping out. Like we thought there'd be some drama over like whose plot did it hit? Did you measure it properly? But the fact that it went like the complete opposite of what we expected is probably the funniest part about it all.
You certainly learned a lot, though. I think the idea of giving the students a long enough leash to hang themselves with, so to speak, is a bit of trial by fire in the education system, and maybe that's what's lacking nowadays. They say kids lack like go get itness. Maybe that's because things are so safe now.
They let us have some fun and take some risk on, and so we learned the hard way. But
no one got hurt.
Yeah, no one got hurt in the end. It's just people's pride and maybe a little embarrassment as well. Yeah.
I want to thank you for joining Ryan and I for this episode of Nighttime. If anyone listening to this was involved in this incident or have any memories that wish to share, I invite you to contact me via nighttimepodcast.com, as I'd be more than open to another episode covering this story. Now with that, I'm going to wrap up this episode, but before I do, let me give some thanks. First, a big thanks to Ryan for sharing an evening with me and with you, the listeners of Nighttime. A shout out to LJ from the Dystopian Simulation podcast, who provides the intro and outro voiceovers. And lastly, but most importantly, a massive thank you to everyone who listens to Nighttime, as without your interest and your support, this show would be as pointless as it would be impossible. Now on the topic of support, let me thank the newest subscribers to the premium feed. Adam, Tiffany, and Barco, thank you for going premium. And for anyone else who'd like to support the show, you can help us out here in a variety of ways. First of all, a premium feed subscription costs just a couple dollars a month, and that money funds the creation of the show, but the premium feed also gives you the episodes 2 days early, gives them to you ad-free, and gives you access to a full back catalog of episodes. That sounds like something you'd like? You can go premium right now at patreon.com/nighttimepodcast. And even if you don't want to go premium, you can still support the show by simply sharing this episode on social media and letting all your like-minded friends know what we're doing here. Now, if anyone listening has any story ideas, wants to give feedback on the show, or would like to submit a question or comment for an upcoming episode, you can do all that and more at nighttimepodcast.com. I look forward to hearing from you. But until then, take care of each other, hug your loved ones tight, and let me know if you see anything weird.
The Nighttime Podcast is written, hosted, and produced by Jordan Bonaparte.
I got teased for a long time, like afterwards, like during high school.
How
like,
so?
Oh, I think, I was trying to find my yearbook, and I'll try to see if there's any pictures of the yearbook of the event. But
I'd love to see that.
People were like they were like comments about like, too bad the cow thing didn't work out. Like, highlight of our year was the cow. And so, but I think there is some like pictures, like in yearbooks back then were like a couple color pages and black and white pages. Yeah. But there's a couple of comments there. But then I had two things. So the cow project was one, and then I was I played hockey in the high school hockey team, and I was a goalie, and my nickname was 5 Hole. So that's where all the goals I scored on all the time. So if I go to my yearbook, it's all about cows and being
a bad goalie.
Being a bad goalie, yeah.
Well, this is awesome, Ryan. I appreciate you filling in the blanks, because there's so much of the story I had to fill in the blanks in my imagination. I think it's worse than I thought.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. I mean, it's just ironic that it came up, and it's been 30 years since. Because I was thinking about it the other day, and I think I was talking to my wife, I said, it's been 30 years since that happened. Like, I wonder if we should do something like